Hello, Alderman Alternate here. I am with the amazing Hans Jakobi.
That's me.
It's you. Fantastic. The lifestyle entrepreneur has just come out of the woodwork after 11 years of retirement to do an amazing bounce back to freedom tour coming up very soon from Bundberg to Darwin from July 13 to October 25. Welcome, Hans.
Thank you, Alderman.
You are such a legend in seminar circles over the years. I've heard your name so many times over the years. It's just fantastic.
Only in my own lunchtime.
Yeah. It's fantastic. No, it's really got a great reputation out there. We know there's a lot of shonks in the industry over the years, or have been, and you are certainly not one of them. You've got a great reputation, great integrity, and it really is a pleasure and honour to interview you today.
Thank you.
And thank you to Nick Cree for the referral as well.
Yeah, Nick and I go back a long time. Actually, we're great mates. So.
Awesome. So thank you, Nick, if you're watching this. We love you. This is fantastic, this tour you're doing. So can you explain a bit, I guess, about why you decided to do this tour, and just a bit of your background too, so those that don't know you just know a little bit of your background and why you've decided to do this. Okay,
so years ago I was called Australia's wealth coach because I taught people how to manage their money and grow their wealth. I'm a internationally best-selling author. I've written 6 books. Sold in Australia. I think one of them had 9 or 10 print runs, and they were also sold in China, in Korea, South Korea, and India and the Philippines. So internationally as well. I used to speak on seminar circuits internationally, and basically I taught investing in positive cash flow real estate. And you mentioned shonks in the industry.
Yes.
That's quite true. And one of the books that I wrote was called Due Diligence Made Simple. And so my mission there was to expose all the shonky practices that were being used to dupe people into buying investment real estate, not realizing that they were victims of a big scam. So, it really became my mission to expose that and to educate people, because I believe you are the best person to look after your own money. Yes. And I have a very strong conviction about that. And, I've been retired now, as you said, 11 years. I successfully sold my business. I'm very proud to say that I turned many of my students into millionaires and even multimillionaires. So I've walked my own talk with my own investment portfolio. As I said, I retired at 55. I'm a self-funded retiree, so I don't cost the government anything.
Fantastic.
And, for the past 11 years, I've traveled to more than 70 countries. And we've been traveling for 6 to 9 months of the year. Now, I'm not saying that to boast. This is not about that. What it is that you have the power to create the life that you want. And what impacted me very deeply with Cyrus the Virus was that many people's lives were turned upside down overnight through no fault of their own. And many people were lost. You see, I've lived through many crises. Years ago, there was a truckies blockade around Sydney. See, I grew up in Sydney. There was a truckies blockade around Sydney, and you think toilet paper flying off the shelf faster than a Japanese bullet train is a crazy idea. Well, back then, within days, supermarkets were empty, totally empty. Yeah, it was crazy. That was just one. And then, John Laws got up there and said something about the St. George Building Society, as it was at that time. Then it became the St. George Bank. And there was a run on the St. George Building Society, and people were stopped at the door. They couldn't get to their money. And I went through that crisis as well. I went through the 18% interest rate. I've got no hair for a reason. I've been around the block a few times. And, we had the Y2K, the scare about that. And I've been through the GFC and all of those sort of things. So I know how to deal with crises and also how to be self-sufficient. So when I saw all these people panicking, and I see some really good people that are struggling with their direction as to what to do. Now, I'm excited by this whole thing because I think it's a fabulous opportunity. More millionaires are created during a time of crisis than during a time of prosperity. So I want to inspire people, motivate people to look at this as a real opportunity and to use this not to go back to where they were, because, mostly when I speak to people, they say to me, Hans, I just want to go back to where I were and where I was. And when I ask them, what was life like? Were you totally happy with that? No, I wasn't really. I wanted to do this and that and everything else. So why go back to that? Use this as an opportunity to create a new dream, a new life. And I think that's exciting. So, and the online world, and Aldwin, I was a pioneer in the internet way back in 1989 when there was no social media. It was I
was 15.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm old enough to be your dad.
Well, computers around then.
Yeah, there were dinosaurs running around,
That was the dial-up internet days, right?
Yeah. We even had records, those those things. So yeah, it was a very interesting time. And back in those days, now this is how it was. If you sent out emails to people, you had to have their permission first. And by golly, let me tell you, if you sent out emails to people and they hadn't requested to be on your list, you're in deep doo-doo. That was a no-no. You don't do that sort of stuff. So, they were early days. I was very successful in building a business online, and I really enjoyed it. But I also wanted to retire and enjoy something else, so I did that. But now coming back into it, what's fascinated me so much is that all of that previous knowledge has just sort of flown right through me so easily, and a lot has changed. And let me tell you, here's the good news. The good news is that now we have got so many apps, so many programs that make our life so much easier. And, just a simple example, something like split testing, to test two different versions of a sales copy or something like that, or two different images. We had to write special programs to make that work. Now you just take out an app, bingo, it's there, it's going, and you're ready to go. Or there's a plug-in for it. Those things didn't exist. The concept of plug and play, that didn't exist.
Yes. Well, I was trained in the old school photography days where they had film cameras and you had to know how to develop in a dark room. Now we have Photoshop and things like that. You just press a button, or even our smartphones now do amazing quality photos. It blows me away how good even the smartphones are with photos. So technology has certainly changed a lot. And if you don't move with the times, you'll go out of business, right?
Sure. And so the purpose of this tour, Aldwin, is really to interview people to find out how they've been going. Because just the other day, I came across a survey done by a business school overseas, and they interviewed 300 CEOs to find out how they reacted emotionally to the whole Cyrus the Virus thing, I like Cyrus. I don't want to see him, experience him or anything like that, but I like the name. I don't like that other name they give it. But so they found that people reacted in three different ways. And only 10% of the people they interviewed were actually like me on happy pills. They take this as an opportunity, and they saw this as a potential. And I'm interested to find out how people are dealing with this, what strategies they've got, and how they move forward. And hopefully I can inspire and motivate people to take this as an opportunity and see this for its potential, because probably the biggest thing I would say is our mindset and how we respond to things. And it's not what happens to us in life, it's how we respond to what happens to us in life that makes the difference.
Absolutely.
And that's That's so critical. Sorry, I haven't let you get in a word edgeways.
No, it's fascinating. Fascinating. No, it's great. I love your passion. And it's so true. You know, you can't control certain things in life. We can't control that COVID's happened. We can't control what the government is saying about it, or the lockdowns, or the, you know, the forced economic crash that's come on, or the fact that they're, you know, pushing certain things like a cashless society, etc. So we're definitely, you know, there's changing times coming up, and I know a lot of people now going into cryptocurrencies, and, you know, that we're going to see some massive changes, and things are not going to go back to the way they were. So considering that, what are you going to do about it? And in fact, if you're watching this right now, what are you doing right now to pivot in business? Pivot's been a magical word through COVID. Sure. What are you doing to pivot and to shift things right now and during COVID? What have you done, and how have you been dealing with COVID? I'd love to see your comments here. We can actually see the live chat here. So feel free to pop your comments in. What have you done since COVID, or what are you planning to do to make some shifts in business? And what are some tips you could give people, Hans, around that?
Okay, well, one of the first things that happens to people when they get into a crisis is they contract, and especially business people, they contract. And what they really need to do is they need to just stop and think for a moment, and to think, how can I use this opportunity to grow my business? You see, some people talk about carving up the pie or splitting up the pie. I don't think like that. I want to grow the pie. So, you know, I'm not about dividing up what we've got. I want to make you more prosperous, me more prosperous, the other person more prosperous, and together we can all have more fun.
Yes. Having that abundance mindset.
Yes. And, you know, the funny thing about retiring early in life is that you got no mates to play with. Because you're doing all these fun things and everybody else is still working. Right.
Yes.
And so, you know, I just think if everybody had more of an abundance mentality, and they looked at that, and, you know, specifically business people need to go and market more intelligently. They need to embrace the new technology. I mean, Zoom calls, all of these plugins and everything like that, it's amazing. And, you know, Aldwyn, one of the things I'm going to be doing on this tour is I say you can build a business of your own with just a laptop computer, a mobile phone, and an internet connection. So when I head off on the 13th of July, I've set myself a personal challenge that while I'm also interviewing people and I'm talking about the things that I'm going to see, because I'm going through the Australian outback up to Darwin, I'm going, you know, across the Barkly tablelands, and there's no mobile phone reception, and you know, we're going to do some camp oven cooking, and we'll see the brolgas flying and all that sort of thing. It's magic. I've done the trip a few times, so I know what that's like. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be building a business from scratch, and I'm going to also create a product from scratch. You know, the big thing is that your security comes from your ability to create something of value that somebody else is willing to pay for. Now, all of us have got talents. Some of us can write books. Some of us can write stories. A lot of us can interview. You know, there's all these Instagrammers and influencers and everybody like that around, and they are creating something of value that someone else is willing to pay for. Whether it's an advertiser that wants people to endorse the product or whatever it is, there is something within all of us. And you know, many people are more creative than they realize. And so I want to inspire people to do that. And I'm going to do it. I've always been a person that walks my talk. And, you know, it's a personal challenge. It's going to be rough and raw. I can promise you. I'm going to be going out with a mobile phone. I'm going to be filming it. And sometimes the phone will be jiggly and all that sort of stuff. And I'll make mistakes and I'll laugh at myself. And that's all going to be part of the journey.
Yeah, and that's so important, is not to let perfection get in the way of progress and to have fun, right? Not enough people have fun in business.
That's right.
They get way too serious. And I love that you're the lifestyle entrepreneur and you have fun with what you do. And I can't believe you've been traveling 6 to 9 months of the year for so long. You must have some amazing stories to share around that. Is there any you'd like to share? Any standout experiences?
Yeah, look, one of the things I've done, Alderman, since I sold my business, I've always gone out and I've looked at lots of businesses around the world. And I've played this mental game with myself. So I put myself in the picture of that particular business that I'm looking at, whether it's a cafe, whether it's a retail store or some manufacturing business. And mentally I go through and I look at how many employees that they've got. What are they producing? What's their average sale value? What would be their turnover at the end of the day? And what are their likely expenses? And I do some quick mental arithmetic. And I then ask myself, would I get out of bed in the morning to run this style of business? Right? And for the last 11 years, the answer has been no. And last year I was traveling through Romania. Now, Romania, of all places, who goes to Romania? It's a beautiful country.
Okay. I've never been there.
No,
it sounds amazing.
It's a beautiful country, it really is. And, for years they were lived through a communist regime for many years. And to actually speak to these people and understand their mindset after having been through all that, and me coming from a capitalist environment or country and background, we're worlds apart, but these people are catching on pretty quickly. And so as I was driving through Romania, this ad pops up on my screen talking about building an Amazon business. And it was about a lifestyle type business. And it was from a great Aussie, Adam Hudson, who teaches you how to build a business on Amazon. So I thought, hey, this is something I could do while I'm traveling, a lifestyle business. Yeah. So I came back, I enrolled in the course, and I thought this is a great idea. And then I found there were some things that I didn't like about it, and it was fairly high risk, and there were some challenges which I won't go into right now, but I realized that I didn't have control over, and I'm a bit of a control freak, like us entrepreneurs are. Yeah. So
no one else in this room.
No. So I like to have control of my destiny, and there were some challenges with that. So I looked around and thought about some other ideas. And, last year I then got really excited and I wrote this book. I think you can see that there.
Yes.
So why you need to start a business of your own, online business of your own now. And the beauty is anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. Doesn't matter whether you've got previous experience or not. Doesn't matter if you've got time on your hands or lots of money. It doesn't cost a lot of money. And Nick and I have actually been talking how we could work together to put a package together for people so that they can virtually create a business in a box. And that's an exciting concept that I'm going to explore as well with Nick on this tour.
That's fantastic, because they say business is one of the hardest things you can do in life. Interestingly, I know you're saying it's easy, but this is another quote I've heard, is it's one of the hardest things you can do in life. And I know it is very challenging. It will test you, and particularly learning to systemize your business and take yourself out of the business is like the book, The E-Myth, where a lot of people are technicians in their business, which I still do a lot of technician, right?
Yeah.
I still do a lot of that. So I'm working on systemizing myself. So what are some tips you can give people to help scale?
Okay. Let me come back to scaling in just a moment, but I want to say something about the hardest work.
Yes.
Let me tell you what really is the hardest work, and that's thinking. Okay, now you think I'm probably crazy saying this, but thinking truly is the hardest work you will ever do. Let me explain to you why. When you sit, most people have a very short attention span and they don't think things through. And just to give you an example, the other day I went down to the beach, I sat on a rock, and I came up with an idea in less than an hour, which would generate $1.5 million for me with an upfront investment of around 500,000. Okay, would you agree that that could be profitable? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And all of the work that needed to be done could be outsourced to other people who had skills that I didn't have. All I needed to do was have the idea, and then I could get people to actually put it all together for me and make it work. Now, it's a project that would take 18 months to 2 years to bring to fruition. But, you know, that thinking is where everything starts. And if you think of paintings, if you think of buildings, they're all creations in the mind. And so I inspire you, I want to inspire you to realize that you are very creative, and you can create something of value that somebody else is willing to pay you for. And, you know, that's how easy it is to make $1 million. Go down to the beach, sit on a rock, think for an hour, bingo, there you go. Now, sorry, go on.
That's a really good point. I mean, thinking, imagination, everything started with a thought.
Yeah.
Then the next thing is how to know which thoughts to act on, right?
Yeah. And look, you know, have I always been successful in everything I've done? Absolutely not. Have I failed? You bet. Many, many times. I've done all sorts of crazy things. I've tried things out and everything like that. You know, I've earlier on in my life, I had this idea that I was for organic waste recycling, and I jumped on a plane at that stage with a video camera. I flew over to Canada. I learnt from somebody over there. Then I came back, decided, no, I wasn't going to go with this idea after all. I'd spent thousands of dollars getting all this together, and I sold all of my intellectual property, all the knowledge that I'd gained, the video footage and everything, for $5,000 to somebody that then put it to use, right? I was interested in it. I did everything to research it, then decided, no, it wasn't really enough for me to get out of bed in the morning. And I then sold it on to somebody else. So I had no attachment, off it went. So, you know, anyway, yes. Scaling was your question, right?
Scaling was the next one, yes.
All right. Well, I think it's a little bit like the Federal Express story, where they built the infrastructure first,
yes,
and then they went out and they put one parcel through the system.
Right.
And, you know, and you might think, wow, why do all of that just to send one parcel through? But they had to test that system. And once they knew that system was robust, then you can put a lot more through it. So
right.
One of the things I always look at is, where is the bottleneck in my business? And very often
it's you.
It's me.
Me.
So yeah. I very often am the biggest bottleneck in my business.
Yes.
So in awareness of that, I then find out, who can I get to do my job that I'm not doing very efficiently, and then pass that on. And I just keep doing that process on and on and on again until it all runs smoothly. And, you know, my goal now, I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur. I don't want to do any work.
Yeah.
I want to do thinking, and I want to create the systems.
Yes.
And then I want to go and have fun.
Great.
It's really simple, really.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And that's right. People are probably their own worst enemies when it comes to scaling a business. And often there's a lot of fear that comes up for people around growing a business. And if their mindset isn't set for wealth, you know, or set for creating abundance, then it's very easy to stay in comfort zone. So as much as they may want success or a certain level of success, there's these blockages. So what do you suggest for people that may realize that they have some blockages, and maybe they've done a whole lot of different courses and they've done all sorts of things to work on it, but they're still stuck? What do you suggest to those people?
Well, I think they really need to understand how their mind works. And for me personally, the best person that I have found that explains how the mind works is Bob Proctor. Right. And he's got a program called You Were Born Rich. Now, you know, I don't get a cent for talking about him or anything like that. I just love his teaching. And he gives a really simple example. He said, a railway worker was accidentally locked into a refrigeration wagon of a train, and he was stuck in there, and he feared the whole experience, because he knew, you know, this is a refrigerated van and I'm going to die in here if nobody finds me. So he's knocking on the walls and everything like that, and nothing's happening. Nobody's finding. He's yelling out and everything like that. And apparently he was marking on the inside of the wall his emotions and his feelings. And unfortunately, he died during the night because he was experiencing the feeling of feeling colder and colder, and I'm getting closer to my last moments and everything like that. The next morning, the refrigerated van was opened up. They found him dead inside the wagon, and guess what? The refrigeration mechanism was broken.
Oh my goodness!
The van was not cold.
Wow.
That guy killed himself because of the 6 inches between his ears. And that to me is very, very powerful. And if you understand how powerful your brain or your mind is, then you really want to get to understand. And it's the subconscious mind that you really need to understand, because, and you know, this is good news. You've got to understand this. You've got software running around in your mind. And if you've got software on your computer that isn't doing what you want it to do, you can replace it with new software, right? Agreed?
Yes. Yeah.
And you can do exactly the same with your mind. So if you've got software running around and it's telling you, no, you can't do this, you're an idiot, you're too young, you're too old, you haven't got enough hair, or you got too much hair, or you know, you got a beard or you got no beard, or you know, you're wearing a blue shirt and therefore you can't do it, red jacket, all of those silly things, you know. So you can reprogram your mind, and you can say to yourself, even though I've got no hair and I'm wearing a blue shirt, I can still become successful in business. And that is the most critical thing. And you know, the funny thing is, what you focus on is where the energy flows to. And so again, when I'm traveling overseas, you know, people say to me, how do you come up with a business name? I just look around. I've got my mobile phone with me. I take photographs of things that I like, and then I come back, and that's how I also develop logos and things like that. So I see things that I like, and then I come back and I use it all for my business. So I don't copy anything. That's the important thing. You don't steal someone else's intellectual property, but you use it for inspiration. Okay. And there's a big difference in that. So understanding how your mind works, I think, is fundamental to everybody. And let me give you another example. I'm 66 at this time, and around me, there are a lot of people who are talking about their next knee operation or their next hip replacement, or when they're going to see the doctor next, or whatever operation they're going to have, or what tablets or drugs they're taking, and what their ailments are, and where it hurts, and all of those things. Okay. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't want to attract that stuff. Yes, I do have some aches and pains. I don't focus on it. I don't give it any energy, because I'm focusing on getting around people who are aspirational, who are motivated, who want to do things more with their life. And they're the kind of people that I'm gravitating towards. And that's another reason for me doing the tour, because, you know, I haven't got one foot on the banana skin and the other one in the grave. I'm not ready to go yet.
No. And the good news is that 70 is the new 40 now, Hans. So you're good. So it's just
I'm on the track.
Life begins at 40. Life begins at 70, right? So this is the new you, new beginnings. So I think it's absolutely perfect. And you know, it's fascinating how people can be so hard on themselves sometimes, and how people can also by all the stories that we're fed in the mainstream media.
Yeah.
Now, having worked as a journalist, I've been 36 years, I've been working in the media in some form or another, or been in the media. And in that time, I can tell you there are hidden agendas with the media, and do not believe everything you hear. I recommend that you question everything, because if you buy into the negative news you're hearing and believe everything you're hearing, then you're just going to end up depressed and possibly suicidal, which is why we've had such an increase in, domestic violence, people drinking, all this sort of thing through COVID. So, you can't control what's happening out there. You can control what you do about it. Do your own research. I'm not going to go down any rabbit holes here. Do your own research. But the thing is, what are you going to choose to consume? And what messages are you also putting out to your environment? And having a great environment is so crucial. Hanging out with like-minded, positive people is so important, isn't it? And I'm sure you've seen a lot of amazing people in your time.
Oh, I have. And if I can give you another example, my daughter graduated last year as a school teacher, and she graduated in Victoria. And her fellow classmates were all full of, oh, you'll never get a job. It's a long time till you get a job and everything like that. I said to her, look, don't even go down that road. You are competent. You will get a job, and you just go and present yourself. You will have no trouble getting a job. And she moved from Victoria to Queensland. So she graduated in Victoria under the Victorian system, and then had to get into the Queensland system. And she has been working ever since she's moved up, and she's been working as a casual relief teacher. And yes, that's uncertain, but she's also now been offered contracts to work, and so her weeks are filling up, and she's got more contracts than she's got time available. So, she has gone from a situation where people have been telling her she can't get a job, and she's really, really selective. So what she's gone and done is she's gone and chosen schools within a 5-kilometre radius of her home. And people from where she lives actually drive to Brisbane. So they'll drive for an hour just to get a job. She said, nah, I want to be 5 kilometres from home.
Right.
So, you create what you want in your life, but you've got to be clear about what it is that you want.
I've been listening to a lot of Abraham and Esther Hicks lately, and they talk about, focus on what you want, not what you don't want, because the universe will bring you what you want. And often people do talk about what they don't want, or, focus on the dramas. You focus on the dramas, you're going to get more dramas, right?
Yeah.
So keep focusing on what you want.
Very, very important during this crisis that you focus your energy on positive things and literally focus on what it is you want. And, sit down and think about what it is, what you would like your life to look like, and then start to create that. And here's another example, if I can share that with you.
Sure.
When I retired from the business, we sold our home. We had a farm on the other side of the Blue Mountains between Lithgow and Bathurst, and we subdivided the farm, and we sold that off. And we literally lived in a caravan after that. So we said that what we wanted was to find a different place to live. And we were lifestyle puppies, right? So that's what we were about. Yeah. And so I actually had a checklist of what I was looking for in a place. What was our ideal home? So if you asked me what it was, I can tell you. It had to be close to an airport. It had to be in a smallish town near a regional centre, so that we had access to good shopping. We wanted medical and dental and all the facilities that we needed as we age. We wanted to be within a close proximity to cafes, restaurants, the beach. We wanted a new home, and it had to be all on one level. And we wanted walking paths because we knew that we had to keep mobile as we age. All of those things were important to us. And literally we could go and tick off, as we saw each house, we could tick off, does this match our criteria or not? Right. If it doesn't, out the window it goes. Right. And, that's how you do it. And so most people know what they don't want, but they have no idea what they really do want. And you know what? You can use this same strategy to find your partner.
All right, so there's hope yet for us. All the single ladies, there's hope yet, ladies and men.
And men.
Okay.
So, yeah, look, all you need to do is actually think about the criteria of the ideal person that you would like to live with, right? So if you make a list of the qualities of that person, and you will attract that type of person into your life. And it's a very, very powerful thing. You know, your mind is a sending and receiving station for your thoughts. And if thoughts are creative, so if you know what it is that you want to attract, and you've got this checklist, and it's not rocket science, it's not something you'll know. And if you don't know, put down all the things that you don't know on one side, draw a line down the middle of a piece of paper, write down all of the things you don't want, and then work out what the opposite of that is, and then you'll know what you do want.
Yes, beautiful. And there's a lot of power in actually writing that down as well.
Huge power.
Writing your goals down. There's been studies done around this that you will increase your chances exponentially if you just of achieving your goals if you write them down. And in the movie The Secret, John Assaraf actually had a vision board of the ideal house he wanted, and then I think it was 7 years later he attracted this mansion. It was exactly like the exact house that he had on his vision board, and he did even pack the vision board away in boxes and totally forgot about it after he did it, and then he manifested, or attracted this dream house. So it is possible, and it happens again and again and again, and it's amazing how powerful we are as human beings.
We really are. And I just, some people might say, oh yeah, that'll be great, that'll work for you and all that sort of thing. I can promise you, if only you embrace this idea, it will work for you. And if you give it energy, it's what you give your energy to that you will attract into your life. And, if you want a peaceful life, if you want a quiet life, then decide that that's how you're going to live your life and behave that way. And, I like an action life.
Yes, great.
Do you get that feeling?
That's great. So what are some of the countries you visited in
Okay. I've been to India, I've been to China, I've been to Egypt, Jordan, Italy, Germany, Switzerland. Just this year, we were going to go to the 5 stands. That was in May. Unfortunately, that went down the tube. As I'm actually driving up to Darwin, I think it's the 23rd of July, I would have been flying to Alaska.
Wow.
And at Christmas time this year, we have a trip booked. I want to take all my children and grandchildren over to Lapland to visit Santa Claus. So there's 11 of us going, or there were 11 of us going, but unfortunately it's now been deferred till next year. But it's not really unfortunate. We're quite happy about it, actually. We think it's a better choice if it is deferred till next year. So they were our travel plans for this year. And, when I talk about creating your reality, I can show you my calendars because I print out an A4 sheet of paper with 12 months of the year on it.
Yes.
And with a highlighter pen, I work out all the trips that we're doing, and they're all highlighted on there. And we do that a year to 2 years in advance. So if you ask me right now, what am I doing next year? I can actually tell you. Now, you might think that's crazy, but that's what I do. So that's how I know I can create the life that I like. And for me, that's pretty serious stuff because I don't leave anything to chance.
Yes.
I was telling Aldwin earlier that typically the itinerary of when I travel overseas is this thick. And just to give you an example, my wife and I, we do research. So we decide on what are the things that we want to see. And, I don't know if I mentioned I've been to Turkey, and you've got Turkish background.
Yes,
and
I've got
you've
Turkish, Greek, Ukrainian. Yep.
Yeah, I haven't been to the Ukraine.
Okay.
But I've been to Greece and loved it. And Turkey, loved it.
Yes, and good coffee.
So,
yeah.
And
baklava.
So, we will go and research the sites that we want to go and see. And we also love good food. and we will research good restaurants in the places that we live, that we're visiting.
Yes.
And we don't go to the point of saying we have to go to this restaurant, but we've got a list of choices so that we don't end up in crappy restaurants. I don't want to eat crappy food. I'm very selective about what I eat.
Yes.
And therefore, it makes sense to do the research first. And when we get there, then we can find out, is it really as good as they say it is or not? And we make those choices. Now, again, people might think, oh, that's crazy. I just want to go with the flow and all that sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, we do go with the flow, but we know which way the flow is going.
Yes.
If you understand what I mean.
Fail to plan to fail, right? That's the saying.
Yeah.
So planning your life out is really important. And you get a lot of wisdom from traveling too. I personally have traveled 3-4 months of the year for quite a few years now as well, and I love it. And I've pivoted in business since COVID actually. And I've gone back to webinars, which I did 5 years ago or so. So I've now relaunched my Mass Media Mastery program. I've also launched the Global Good News Challenge to help lift people's spirits during this time. So there's lots you can do, lots of ways to be creative and to shift things in business. What are some other tips you'd give people?
Okay, I think managing your money is a very important strategy.
Yes.
As I said, I'm a self-managed, self-funded retiree. I've got a self-funded superannuation fund. I believe that I'm the best person to manage my money.
Yes.
Because I've got a special relationship with it. I earned it, so I'm going to spend it. And I'm going to spend it the way that I like to spend it. If you're in an earlier stage in your life and you want to enjoy a particular lifestyle, you have a choice. Are you going to enjoy that lifestyle early on, or are you going to work and invest so that you can enjoy that for a longer period of time? Let me give you another example. Before we retired, I asked my wife, I said, look, we've got this much money. Now, we can either go around the world, we can fly first class X number of times, we can stay in 5-star hotels and do all that sort of thing, and the money's going to last this long, all right? Or we can buy a really flash caravan and we can still go around the world and do all those other lovely things, and then the money will last this long.
All right.
What would you like to do?
Yeah.
Clever woman she was.
Yeah. She chose well.
She chose well, yeah. She said, let's go for the flash caravan and we'll travel around Australia and we'll have fun. We love caravanning. We've never done it before. We retired, but we really love it. And that's what we're going to be doing when we drive to Darwin. We're going with the caravan, that flash caravan.
Awesome.
And, our car's got 260,000 kilometres on it now because we've been right around Australia, up through the middle and all over the Western Queensland and all that sort of thing. We've done the outback and that. So we do a combination. We love travelling on the road and we go overseas. And we've been. Don't know if I mentioned we went to Africa and South America and Malta and Sicily and Sardinia and Corsica and all that.
Wow.
The list goes on and on.
70 countries, right?
More than 70 countries.
Wow,
yeah.
amazing.
I've been to Russia. Russia's so interesting.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And all through the Scandinavian countries and all the Baltic countries and all that. So there's so much to see. And as Aldwin said, there's so much to learn when you travel and it expands your mind. So if that's, travel's not for everybody. Some people like to stay home. So if you'd rather stay home, that's fine. But what I find is that when you travel, it expands your horizon and it expands your mind. And typically what happens, and this is very important to understand this, as people get older and they have less and less money, their whole world shrinks. And they spend more of their time sitting at home in front of the TV and believing all the crap that's out there. And I mean, it's crap. It's, 99% of it is absolute crap. It's rubbish. And I choose not to watch TV. very, very often at all. Occasionally I do, but not very often. And I think there's better things to do with my time. And you might notice throughout this conversation that there's certain choices that I've made throughout my life that have led me to create the life that I've got.
Yes.
All right. And
yes.
if you can sit down and do that hard work of thinking and planning, and if you make a mistake, don't worry. You can cross it off and change it.
Yes.
It's not set in stone. And if you've made mistakes, here's another important tip. I've made lots of mistakes in my life. And but here's the thing. You've got to go back, and whoever you've done the wrong thing by or you've made a mistake with, go back to them and say, hey, listen, I'm sorry I did this and this. Own the issue. It's your issue, so own it. Go back and say, look, I'm sorry I did this. What do I need to do to make this right? And then the person will have a conversation with you, and you've insulted me, or you've done this, or you've done the wrong thing. You've ripped me off, or whatever it is that you've done. But go back, fix it. Right? Don't leave unfinished. I've found so many people have untidy lives, and that saps your energy. So I always say I've got a bad memory, so I don't tell lies, because I can't remember what I said yesterday. So don't make up stories. With me, what you see is what you get, and that's always the case. And I think it's just so important to be authentic in what you're doing, and accept the fact that we all make mistakes. Don't be ashamed of that, but go back and fix it, and then move on. Don't carry it around with you anymore. That's another good thing. So.
Well, the truth always comes out in the end, I say, as well. And I do believe in karma, so I think treat others as you want to be treated. I think that's really important.
Yeah. Or as they would want you to want to be treated as well.
Yes, that's true. Considering the other person, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's awesome what you're doing. This tour coming up. So tell us a little bit more about the tour and what you're going to be doing.
Okay, so we'll be heading off, as I said, on the 13th of July. That's Monday week, and we're going to be interviewing people along the way, and I'm particularly interested to learn more about how people think and what motivates them. And I would love to inspire people to use this opportunity to turn their life around. And as I said, I'm going to do this with just a laptop, a mobile phone, and an internet connection. And if I can give somebody a different perspective on if they see everything crumbling around them and they think this is the end of the world, and if I can at least open their minds to the possibility that that's not the end of the world. That, if you think about it, we've come through world wars, we've come through natural disasters, we've come through financial disasters, we've come through environmental disasters, all those things, and we are still going. And this is the thing. In the end, they are tiny little blimps on the horizon. So if you allow that tiny little blimp to determine the rest of your life, then again, that's your choice. And I would encourage you to make a better choice. And I was telling Aldwin the other day, there was a series on television, and this is one time when I did watch some television. There was a series on television about homeless people, and it was heartbreaking watching that. But you know what I took away from that was that there were some people there. They may have been a bit rough around the edges. They had fallen on hard times, but basically they were good people. And what they needed more than anything else was a bit of a hand up, and more than anything else, they needed some education in how their mind worked. Because the only difference between the homeless person and the millionaire is the way they think. And so I personally think that we don't have a homelessness issue as such. Yes, we've got to get them off the streets. I agree with that. But really, in order to keep them off the streets, we have to educate them and build up their self-esteem and make them realize that they do have other opportunities. And there were some people there were, I would have loved to have gone out there and said, hey, look, you can see the world differently. You remember how we talked about software? Yes. Software in the brain?
Yes.
All those people needed is to run new software in their brain and their world would be different. And there was a young couple there that had done the HSC together, and they just got an apartment together, and they literally were ready to go out into life. And you know, they were a bit rough around the edges, as I say, but hey, they are going to go places if they've got the right software. And there's many people like that. And there were other people who, you know, they'd been through relationship problems and financial problems and so on, and they haven't really been able to deal with that. And, you know, we talked about suicide and all of those things. If the software is reprogrammed, then we will reduce all of those social problems. And if I can just inspire some people to look at reprogramming that software, then I'll be a very happy man. So that's so we're going to take off. We're heading north to Townsville. We've got a daughter that lives in Townsville, so we're going to visit our daughter. Right now we're on the Gold Coast here with Aldwyn, in Queensland, and we're visiting another daughter with 2 grandchildren. And up in Darwin, the purpose of driving to Darwin is that my wife is going to support our daughter-in-law and her 3 grandchildren up there. So my son and daughter-in-law are both building businesses independently of each other. They've got different passions, and I think that's a good thing too. You know, my daughter-in-law is a relationship coach, and my son is very heavy into agriculture, and he's building quite a name for himself up there. And so it's lovely to see them developing and realizing their dreams. And we want to just spend some time with the grandchildren up there. And we believe that the borders are going to be open in the next few weeks to the Northern Territory, and we'll be there waiting to go.
Awesome. You'll be right on the borderline there.
Yeah. So we'll do some fun things. And I'm going to catch up with Matt Wright. He's a crocodile wrangler up there in the Northern Territory, and we might do some filming there with him. Our son actually has helped Matt catch crocodiles and done all sorts of interesting things. So, you know, stay tuned. It's going to be a fun adventure.
That's fantastic. And I love how close you are to family and how important that is for you.
Very.
You know, I come from European background. Of course, my parents are married 50 years this year, which is fantastic. Now, how many years is it for you now?
41.
41 years, 41, amazing. And you've got 3 kids, and how many grandkids?
5 grandkids.
5 grandkids, amazing. And
I even know their names, but don't ask me their birthdays. I've got a wife who knows all that information.
That's good teamwork.
Teamwork, yeah.
So what's the secret to a happy relationship? Because I know a lot of people have been suffering with relationship issues at this time too. Yep. So what is the secret, do you think, to having a great relationship?
For men, it's... Shut your mouth. And you got to be very careful. There's a very important thing you've got to learn as a man. It's yes, dear.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If you don't get the intonation or the tone right, you know, if it's yes, dear, you're going to be in deep doo-doo. So, you know, you've got to make sure you get it right. And if you know, you can never work out whether you've got a hand grenade about to go off, all right? You only find that out after the event. You just got to tread carefully. So, you know, I think the important thing is to have fun, not to take life too seriously. Be understanding of the other person. Think of yourself. I'm being serious now. So, be the best partner that you can possibly be, and help your partner be the best that they, and support your partner to be the best that they can. Now, having said that, they are not necessarily going to want to do the same things that you are going to do or want to do. And so you need to be understanding of that situation. And if they want to sit at home and watch TV, that's great. But if they want to do something else, support them in doing something else. But just be understanding. You can always suggest all sorts of things, but you can't tell people what to do. And so I try and be supportive. Hey, look, I make mistakes too. Don't worry. Yeah. And we have Barneys as well. But, you know, we look at life with the intention that we want to grow old together. We enjoy life together. And we always discuss things. So this whole tour, in fact, we talk about how creative your mind is. This whole tour came about as we were driving down to the Gold Coast last Friday. We came up with this concept of taking the caravan up to Darwin and to do it together. So, you know, my wife wanted to fly up to help our daughter-in-law, and I was busily doing some other things. And I said, well, while you're going up there, maybe I could go and camp on the beach and do what I'm doing. And then I thought, no, this is crazy. Why don't we do it together? And so that's really how it all happened. It was it was a thought. Thinking is the hardest work you'll ever do.
Yes, and then being a quick action taker too.
Oh, I'm a big actor. Yeah.
Which is fantastic. So a lot of people think about it. They think and think and think and don't do anything too, right? So actually taking action on your thoughts and following your gut instinct on things. And yes, you will fall over. It's like as toddlers fall over about 1,000 times before they learn to walk, apparently. So if you've made it past the toddler stage, then you've already fallen over a lot of times.
Well, you know, I think I can't remember who said this, but it's very, very powerful when you stop and think about it. No matter where you are in your life right now, no matter what you are doing, you are successful. And here's why. Only one sperm managed to fertilize an egg and create you.
Yes.
Right? So you are very, very successful. And everything on from here on in is just a bonus. So you need to be aware of that. And it's, if you actually stop and think about that, what are the chances of that happening, then it's mind-boggling. I don't know the exact statistics.
Well, actually, I can tell you the exact statistics because I've looked into this.
There you go.
Because I say you're 1 in a billion, because it's actually between 400 million to 1.2 billion swimmers, and you beat all of those. So I say 1 in a billion just to round it off there. So that's a lot of little swimmers that you beat to get to the finish line. The first race you ever won, you're 1 in a billion.
Yeah, so that's so important. And you know, it's all of us have so much more capacity than we actually put into practice. And it's so possible. And, you know, the reason some people, you were saying I was a big action taker. One thought I wanted to share with you on that is that I once heard that Microsoft's strategy was to put a piece of software out there, and it was never perfect. And if you've experienced Microsoft software, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's got lots of bugs in it when it's first released. But they work on the process. Let's get it out there, and people will tell us what's wrong with it, and then we'll fix it. And so when I heard that, I thought, you know, Hans, that really makes sense, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And so, as I said, I'm the bottleneck in my business and everything else. So I've got to get out of my own way. And Microsoft's strategy was to get the product out there and fix the problems later. And so I've adopted that now. And I am a massive action taker. And yes, I do make mistakes, and then I go back and fix them. So
yeah. And you can always tweak as you go, and that's crucial to be able to tweak and, you know, realize that it's never going to be perfect. It's a constantly evolving thing. It's like any system. You can create a system, and then you might tweak it and change it next week. and it's all learning experiences. It all makes us stronger.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And just back to the point on relationships we're talking about, I just want to share the 3 C's of relationships, which I love. The first is communication.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Communication is really huge in any relationship, and that includes friendships as well as if you're in a sexual relationship with someone. Any relationship, communication is really, really crucial. The other thing is compromise.
Yep.
Being willing to compromise and being willing to ebb and flow and consider the other person.
So for men, that means the woman is always right. That's what compromise means. Got it?
And the third one is commitment.
Yeah.
So being committed, anyone can make a relationship last, whether they want to or not. And particularly nowadays where it's swipe right, swipe left, generation, where we've got Tinder and all these online dating sites where it seems like people are so expendable. I think there's a lot to be said for people that commit and actually stick to their commitments. And that does seem to be challenging for some people out there. And at the same time, you don't want to be in a relationship that's miserable either. This will affect your whole life, because they say that, 95% of your happiness or misery comes from who you choose as a life partner. So you want to choose carefully, not just who you're in a relationship with, whether sexual or otherwise, but, just who you have in your environment. Are people around you lifting you up, or are they bringing you down? Yeah,
and if they're bringing you down, then move on. And if you've got friends that you're hanging around with and that are bringing you down, come to that awareness, and you may still want to remain friends with those people, but just spend less time with them and spend more time. And, Aldwyn said about communication, that's key. When you have a Barney, what happens is you both go into a huff and you don't talk to each other. Always happens, right? That's a big mistake, right?
Yes.
Go off in your huff if you want to. Come back five minutes later, have a kiss and a cuddle, make up and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. That's the first strategy, okay? Yes. Always say, I'm sorry, it was my fault. And then the other person will say, no, it was my fault. And then you have a Barney about whose fault it was. But just laugh about it and then make up. And communication, you're absolutely right.
Yes,
so.
Make love, not war, I say.
Yeah.
And the make-up sex is always great too, right?
As you get older, it becomes more of a memory. But it's not quite as often and not always as spontaneous, but it's still good.
Fantastic. We could keep chatting for ages.
Yeah, I can talk underwater with marbles in my mouth, you notice?
It's fascinating chatting with you, Hans. You've got such a wealth of experience and you look so healthy. What are some of your health tips, actually?
Look, that's a very good point too, Aldwyn, because it's as I said earlier, when we chose where we wanted to live, we chose a place with walking paths. That was critical for us because we knew we had to maintain our mobility. So we are conscious of what we eat. Now, that doesn't mean that I only live on mung beans and tofu. All right, that's not it. So I enjoy all sorts of food, but for example, I don't eat seed oils. I eat good quality oils such as coconut oil. I eat olive oil and macadamia nut oil and those sort of oils. I don't eat sunflower and manufactured type oils. I don't eat margarine. Whoever told you that the margarine was good for you absolutely is full of lies. Not even cockroaches eat that stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's grey, actually. The real colour is grey.
Grey, yeah.
Oh,
so, when you learn all about these things, you can see stuff in the supermarket. Probably about 80% of the supermarket is irrelevant for our lifestyle, right? If it's in a can or in a packet, it's probably not something we're interested in. We go down the fresh food aisle, we buy the fresh food and vegetables and the meat and fish and those sort of things. So, yes, I'm careful about what I eat. Exercise is one of my least favorite things, I've got to admit.
Yes.
But I do walk 4 or 5 kilometres 4 or 5 times a week.
Okay.
So that's important, staying mobile. And, I'll enjoy a drink too, but I'm don't do it every night of the week. And our focus is on staying healthy rather than curing something or getting a tablet for something that where we've got an illness. So if we've got something wrong with us, we might go to a doctor to get a diagnosis, and then I go away and I ask myself, what's the cause of this? Why have I manifested this or created this in my life? What have I done to create this? And then I will dig until I find the answer. And I'll often go to a naturopath and I'll say, all right, this is the situation. How can I fix this? So I'm not interested in drugs because drugs are not going to be a cure for my situation. That doesn't mean I'm against Western medicine at all. I think it's got a very important place. If you need an operation, no use going to a witch doctor. It's not going to help you, right? If you're plastered all over the road and you need someone to stick you back together again, you need surgery. So, you got to understand, you got to use the right tools for the right problem. And it's like my son is a mechanic. If he's got the wrong size spanner for a nut, it's not going to come undone.
Yes.
And so you've got to go to the right people to get the answers to what you're looking for. But I look to get to the cause of the problem. And sometimes, or many times, in fact, the illnesses that you've got or the diseases that you've got in your body come from the way that you think. And I did a lot of work with that. Many years ago, I read Louise Hay's books.
Yes.
You Can Heal Your Life, that sort of thing. So yes. If I've got pains in certain parts of my body, I will go and refer to that, and I'll think to myself, well, what am I doing? Why am I thinking this way? And what's creating that? And miraculously, when I think differently, it changes. I also believe in kinesiology. That can help me find out causes of things. So,
yes.
Yeah, and loving life, laughter is very important.
Yes.
Good friendships. As people age, their relationships are really, really important. And you find many lonely people in aged care facilities. And again, that's something, I'm aware of that. My parents, unfortunately, have passed away, but we had to look after them as they aged. And we came across very many lonely people, and, their own children didn't care for them. And I always had the attitude, even though we traveled a lot, we would pay for one of our children to go and visit their grandparents and my parents or my wife's parents. We would pay for them to go and visit them every few weeks, even if it meant plane fares, airfares, car hire, all of that, accommodation, because we wanted to make sure that our parents had that ongoing relationship. And they're personal values, and
yes.
They don't change with what you're doing. It's who you are. And it's who you are that actually is the most important thing that you need to do in business. The type of person that you are attracts different people to your life.
That's true. Your business is often a representation of you too, right?
It is. And if you're a mean, cranky sort of person, I actually have a motto where I say I only do business with people that I like. And if I don't trust somebody or I don't like that person, I don't do business with them. These are just personal values, and
yes.
When you're clear about those personal values, you'll be amazed at how good your life is.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm so excited for you with this tour. Now, you are looking for people to interview on the way.
Yes, very much so, yeah.
So if people want to be interviewed, if you have a story to share around COVID, around how you've dealt with COVID, or, if you've pivoted in business, or if you've maybe left a job and you're doing things differently,
sure.
How you're dealing with COVID, how can people get in touch with you if they want to be interviewed?
Okay, the best way is to go to the website hansjakobi.com and use the contact us page or contact me page. Send me a message, and it doesn't matter if you're not on the same route that we're going to. We've all got Zoom, so we can do an interview on Zoom, And I don't know what this is called. It's all fancy stuff, but yeah, we can do one of these as well, I think.
Yes.
What is it, a live?
This is StreamYard. This is a live through StreamYard.
Okay, I'll find out how it works. I'll find someone who knows. And I'm interested, doesn't matter where you are in the world, I'm interested in how you are dealing with this and what strategies you're using to get out of that situation. And so I will have a website. As I said, I'm building this as we go. So the website is not ready yet, but there will be a website at bouncebacktofreedom.com. It will be built probably within the next week, but at this stage, it's not live, it's not there, but it will be done. So probably another way, if you can't get hold of me, get hold of Aldwyn, and she'll find me wherever I am. Is that fair enough?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can private message me here on Facebook if you want to get in touch with Hans as well. And I'll be.
Oh, and I've got Facebook as well.
Yes,
you
Facebook
know that
as well.
Facebook
Hans
stuff.
Hans Facebook directly.
Hans Jakobi. I think that's what I'm
Hans
called.
Jakobi. We'll make sure that Hans.
And I'm on
tagged.
Instagram as well, and all that sort of stuff. So
So, and if you don't hear back from Hans, if he's on the road, then feel free to contact me.
Yeah, sometimes we'll be out of range. So
yes. So definitely get in touch with one of us if you want to be interviewed on this trip. You've got the date right there, July 13 to October 25 on amazing trip. I can't wait to see how you go with that. And you're going to be filming, as you said, so hopefully this will be turned into a actual documentary as well. Is that right?
Yes, it will. And, it's I just want people to be inspired to do something with their life and to build a business of their own, because as I said before, your security comes from your ability to create something of value that somebody is willing to pay you for. And if you can sell just one of your products, then you know that there are more people out there that can sell more, that will buy more of your products. And you've just got to find the way of reaching those people. So with all of the tools that we've got available today, the potential is huge. And, a lot of people tell me it's much harder these days. It's not true. Don't believe that sort of stuff at all. You've got more tools available to you now than we've ever had. And it's just it's an exciting time. Look, I agree that there's uncertainty, but in the midst of uncertainty, there is huge opportunity, and I just want to inspire you to embrace that concept that there's opportunity.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And out of all the places you've traveled, do you have a favorite?
Good question. I loved Africa, but I've been asked that question many times, and we've also been to Iceland as well. Wow. There's just so many different places, but every single country I've been to, Aldwyn, has got a particular charm about it, and the people are interesting and different. And wherever you go in the world, people all have the same aspirations. They all want peace, they all want love, they all want freedom to do things in their lives. They are common. Doesn't matter whether you're in India or where you are. And some people don't know how to find that, and that's what causes them grief. But it's not related to money. It has to be fixed up in here first. And I love traveling everywhere. So I don't go there with any. I enjoy reminiscing about the experiences, but I don't have a favorite place. So.
It's a wonderful world. I love that song, What a Wonderful World.
It is. I mean, Australia's pretty good, I reckon.
Yeah, I think we're in a pretty damn good part of the world here, actually.
Yeah, but, we've got friends in many, many countries all over the world. And we've been through some of the national parks in the US, for example. Canada's beautiful. South America, there's something charming about everywhere in the world. And, it's and sometimes it's just the understanding of how people live and why they live that way. And to me, that's intriguing as well. So it's
beautiful. And there is a universal language, and that is smiling, right?
Yeah,
so we can all smile and understand each other. And music, of course, is another universal language. Even if you don't understand the words, music itself without the words is something that we can all enjoy at this time, right? There's lots we can do, even in isolation. There's lots we can do, and launch an online business. I did about 30 offline events last year, and now I've been doing so many online events. I'm actually thinking, do I really want to go back to offline events again? Because I can't reach all my friends around the world if I do a physical event. And now I'm thinking,
this is the way to do it.
This is it. Reach the world just like this. So I'm very grateful for the technology we have here. And in the Global Good News Challenge, we say 3 things we're grateful for. What are you grateful for today, Hans?
I'm grateful that this morning I woke up and I was vertical and I was breathing. So that's the first thing that I'm always grateful for, because there's lots of people who actually didn't wake up this morning.
Yes.
So I remind myself of that every day. And, I can see, I can hear, I can eat, I can enjoy, I can be with my family, I can be with other lovely people such as Aldwin, I can be with you here today. And all of those are just wonderful things. So I'm hugely grateful for everything. And I just love life. So, I'm happy grateful for my health as well. And if there's something that I'm not quite happy with, then I look at why that is the case and see if I can turn that around. And usually I can.
Beautiful. Any final words of wisdom?
Believe in yourself, and just remember that your thoughts and words are creative. So if you say something that is negative towards yourself or hurtful to yourself, then think of it as if, just say, oh, I wonder where that came from. Think of it like a bit of flatulence that just escaped, and just let it go. You don't need that stuff. And then think about it, how you could reframe that and say that to yourself differently. And if you say, I'm never good at anything, stop yourself there and then and reframe that. And you may not notice the results immediately, but catch yourself doing that over and over and over again, and you will stop that way of thinking. You will reprogram this, and you will change your life. And if you sit down at a meal and you say, oh, I don't like eating pumpkin, or I don't like eating this, or I don't like that, or reprogram yourself to think differently. And when I was a kid at school, I hadn't grown up on pumpkin. I mentioned pumpkin now, but it's interesting because I had grown up not eating pumpkin. So I decided one day, why don't I like pumpkin? I don't really know whether I don't like pumpkin or not. I am going to eat pumpkin. Every time I've got the opportunity, I'm going to eat a pumpkin. And so that's what I did, and I like pumpkin now. So,
amazing.
Everything can be reprogrammed. So I'd love to hear too, if you apply any of these ideas that we've spoken about today, I'd love to hear how that's changed. And please do embrace the fact that your mind is so powerful, and thinking is the hardest work you'll ever do.
Yes, wonderful. And of course, personal development's really big too.
Huge. It pays the highest dividends. Yeah, it really does. And people think about finances, but what you invest in here is more valuable than anything else, any other investment. Truly. Believe me.
I would agree with that. I've invested about $500,000 in my education since 2005. So the last 15 years have been extraordinary, and it just gets better and better. So I'm very grateful for all my mentors out there, and it's amazing you've impacted so many lives, Hans, over the years, and no doubt will continue to do so. So great work, and thank you for being with us today. Any final words for our beautiful viewers?
If you can conceive it, you can create it. So I encourage you to believe that thought and to go with that. So Fantastic. Thank you. And look forward to talking again.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hans Jakobi, a true inspiration. And he's doing this phenomenal tour coming up, Bounce Back to Freedom tour, going from Bundberg to Darwin, July 13 to October 25. If you want to be interviewed, if you have a great story to share of how you've pivoted in business or what you've done since COVID, or if you've lost your job, how you're coping with that, it would be an amazing experience for you, an opportunity to connect with Hans on this tour. And you can contact him at hansjakobi.com or private message myself or Hans. If he's out of range, you can contact me. And we've got a big media campaign coming up, so watch this space. We'll be keeping you posted with how we go with that. And thank you once again, Hans. It was an absolute pleasure to chat with you today. And if you've enjoyed this, please like, comment, share this around, share the wisdom. You never know who you can impact with this here. And, a lot of people who are depressed, they do feel very lonely. So it's good to reach out to people at this time too and say, are you okay? And remember to smile, right? Remember to smile. And also, be the change you want to see in the world.
Agreed. Yeah. And just understand that this is all a bit improvised as we do this. As I said to you, I am starting on this, so we're going to build a website. So not everything's going to be perfect right now. And please be sympathetic to that. And if we can't get to you straight away, please talk to Aldwin, because I may be out of range. And it's not that I don't want to talk to you. It may be just a technical issue. So I'd love to find out how we can help. So there we go.
Absolutely.
We've got to share the love and let the light shine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Be the beacon, right?
Yeah.
Be the beacon, be the change. And, really remember also to shine bright and light up those around you. You're impacting people every single day, whether you realize it or not. So here's to you being the best version of you that you can be, and sharing that love and creating a kinder, more peaceful, more loving world, what we all want out there, and living an inspired life where you can earn a healthy income, live the lifestyle of a lifestyle you want, be like the lifestyle entrepreneur himself, Hans Jakobi. And, imagine the number of people you can impact to when you empower yourself. Imagine how inspiring that will be for your family, for your friends, for the world around you. So here's to...
Always remember too that you won't find money, or you won't find happiness in your bank account. Happiness is in here. Okay. Yes. So money is great for what it buys you. It allows you to look for happiness in nicer places, I say jokingly. But really, this is where you create your happiness. And you don't need a lot in life to be happy. All you need is the right attitude. So
and it's important to keep that passion going, right? Keep the passion.
Absolutely. Yeah. As you get older, you need less things around you. And we spent 5 years restructuring our lives, literally, and getting rid of stuff that we didn't need. And, I don't need the mansions. I don't need the Ferraris and all that sort of stuff. I don't need any of that stuff to be happy. I really, I'm happy just sitting around a campfire on an old chair. It's just company and relationships are far more important than things.
Yes. In fact, we were doing a photo shoot today just across here at the Broadwater, and I saw some pelicans flying above. We saw some pelicans, and it was just such a beautiful sight just to see pelicans flying above. Just the simple things in life. There's so much we can appreciate, and getting into that appreciation will certainly help on this journey. So what do you appreciate? What are you grateful for watching this right now? I'd love to see your comments. And what are you doing now with COVID? What inspiration can you share? Feel free to have your voice be heard. I'd love to hear from you. Or if you've got any questions for either of us, pop that in the chat there as well. Lovely. And subscribe to Media Queen TV if you haven't already on YouTube. Have you got a YouTube?
Yes, but I don't know what it is.
Okay. So just search Hans Jakobi. You'll find him everywhere.
Soon at least.
And if there's not a YouTube channel, there will be absolutely soon. There'll be lots of great interviews up there. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a beautiful day or night wherever you are in the world. Thank you, Hans. Legend. Can't wait to see how this tour goes, and can't wait to be involved and support this the whole way. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.
Thank you. I can